All right, well, welcome to the CoC meeting. It's good to see all of you in person. It's good to see no one in Zoom land. I'm sorry for those of you that love being in Zoom land, but we just really wanted to get back to our roots and be back in person. So I'm going to sit down now so the camera can actually see me. Thank you all for being here. The recording for this meeting, the slideshow, and anything we talk about in this meeting is all going to be available Thursday in that email that I send out. If you aren't getting that email, make sure you wrote your name down so I can know to get you on it and mark new next to your name, or just come talk to me afterwards. Or check your spam folder if you think you've already signed up for it and aren't getting my messages. So with that, some brief housekeeping. I already said all of that. We do have several speakers today, and we're going to be kind of flexible with schedule, so just be respectful of everything they have to say. If you have questions, please ask them. I brought our speakers today as resources for us, just so we have questions that we can help our clients with. They're here to answer our questions. And with that, I'll just go over our agenda really briefly. So first, we're going to have Hope Ranch for Women talk about their programs and what they do. I'm going to give an update on our annual meeting that takes place in December. We're going to have committee updates from our various committees. Alliance of Overlooked Neighbors, I have you up there, but no pressure today. We're going to have a presentation from SOAR, a presentation from DCF, and then finally, I'm going to talk through our governance charter update as well, and that process and where that's going. So with that, John, are you ready? You ready, John? I'm ready. Okay. I just have a picture for you, so.
All right, well, hello, great to see you. This is incredibly weird to me to be sitting like this because I love to stand and move around, but for the sake of the camera, hi. Good to see you. So my name is John Olsey, and I'm with Hope Ranch for Women. It's a faith-based nonprofit that helps women escape and heal from sexually exploitive relationships, from abuse and sex trafficking. I went around and handed out brochures, 3 different brochures to hopefully all of you I caught. If I didn't catch you, raise your hand, and maybe Cole can bring them to you. Did anybody not get the brochures? There's one person, all right. Get these 3 to you right away. Thank you, Cole. Awesome. So Hope Ranch for Women, like I said, exists to help women heal and escape from these relationships. We have 3 aspects to our program. We have a residential program, which is a long-term restorative care program, okay? We have a ranch of 20 acres out on the northeast side of town. We don't tell people specifically where it's at because of pimps and so forth. But we can house up to 8 women at a time, and we provide 24/7 care. We help women work through the horrors of night terrors. We help them with the physical care. We help coordinate and get meetings set up with doctors and dentists, and take care of vision needs. We have a counselor that provides counseling for them. We have coaches that are out there working with them 24/7. We have a curriculum that we go through. It's called the 8 Dimensions of Life. It's an internationally recognized curriculum designed to help women who have experienced trauma. We help them to pursue their GED. If they don't have that, help them pursue their driver's license. Just help them in every facet of life so that they can heal from this trauma. If a woman stays for the entire of the program, it takes somewhere between 12 and 18 months to get through the whole program, okay? And then we have what we call a graduate program that we invite them to participate in as well, and we have graduate housing for them with that. And so it's that portion is subsidized, and they have to help pay for some of that. The 18 months of the residential program is free. There's no charge for them, which in most cases they cannot afford anything at all anyway. And so, but the graduate program, by the time they have graduated from our program, they will have a full-time job. And so we walk through the whole process of that and helping them with that as well. And then in the graduate program, they continue to get case management, but they're much more living independently, which gives them more freedom and helps them to just further prepare them for life in the real world once they have re-engaged and reacclimated back to society. So that's our residential program. We have a gal where the program has only been around for about 3 or 4 years right now. One of our graduates, the residential program, one of our graduates has moved back home where it is safe in Atlanta and is doing incredibly well there. We have another gal who will be graduating this spring, and she'll be going to our graduate program, and then this fall will be going on to college, and we're working right now to help her get some scholarships and get to the best college she can with the best deal that way. We have another gal who'll graduate this spring who probably wants to help with animals, and so we're working at getting her into vet tech arena and trying to work that out with her, and so forth. So just a lot of different avenues there, but we're grateful for the opportunity to help women escape and heal from that. One of the questions I get asked is, does everybody go through, and make it through the whole thing? And the reality is that statistically, according to national statistics, a woman will leave that care and go back into their exploitive relationship or into trafficking 5 to 7 times before they will leave for good. And so we are, we don't require them to stay. Obviously, we can't force them to stay. And so if they leave, then many times they come back, and we're grateful for that. And just want to do, again, all we can to help them to heal and recover. Okay, my time is limited, so I'm going to move on. Our community program. So there are women in the community who either cannot come to the residential program because she has children, or she isn't sure if she wants to leave that relationship, or not sure, just kind of not sure what to do. And so the community program is this brochure kind of explains what that program is about. And we have a full-time case manager that works with them. And then each person that we work with is assigned a mentor. And so we have a person that is just from the community that is walking with them and mentoring them and helping them in the healing process. We have about 15 women right now in the mentoring program that we're working with. And we are always looking for more and always training more, both mentors, training more mentors, getting them prepared, and also finding more women who are interested in coming out of that lifestyle of exploitation or trafficking and wanting to help them walk with them through that. And so we're excited to be able to offer that in the community as well. So if you have anyone who might be interested in your environments, that might be interested in getting involved in the community program, they can contact Linda Olsey, who happens to be my wife, and who oversees the community program, and her contact information is on the back of that form as well. If you're interested in the residential program, you can contact, on the back of this is the main brochure, is also our email address and phone number that you can use for that. For the residential program, they do have to have a referral from either, from a social agency or the police or, a psychologist, counselor, pastor, something like that. So, but we're always welcome to invite more women to come into either of those two programs. We are part of an organization called the National Trafficking Sheltered Alliance. We received an A+ rating from them, and once you get up to that level of rating, which we're grateful for and humbled by that we're there, then we are able to receive women from other parts of the United States, and so we get referrals from around the United States as well, which is great because there are times when we have to refer somebody else out as well. We had a woman who wanted to come to our program a while ago, but in the interview process found out that she had already been kidnapped twice by her pimp. So, we were grateful that we're able to say, yeah, we can find a place for you. It just isn't safe for you here. And so we're able to find, You know, it's like, do you want to go to California? Do you want to go to Florida? Do you want to go to Kentucky? Where do you want to go? Because we can find a shelter for you. And so that's really been grateful to be able to do that when that opportunity comes. We also have an equine program. And that ranch is located on the southeast side of town, east of McConnell Air Force Base. We have 3 horses that we provide equine assisted learning with that. We have trained facilitators who walk with the women through that. If I had more time, I'd show you some videos or pictures, but all to say that it's a remarkable thing. When I first started with Hope Ranch about 2.5 years ago, the board chair said, hey, you need to go out and just do a session with a facilitator and the horses. And I'm like, what is this horse thing? I mean, I've got my master's in counseling. I've been doing it for 20, 30 years. What is that going to teach me, kind of thing, And I was blown away, and it was just incredible to see the life change that happens with the women working out at the equine program as well. So we have that, and we do some pottery and other things out there as well to work with them and help them. All right. So that's kind of a quick summary of who we are, and any questions? If anybody has any questions?
Specific to sexual abuse then?
Yes. Yeah, now, and I say that with a lot of times they don't even know that they have been sexually abused or trafficked, or they won't recognize that or see it or acknowledge it, So if there is, physical abuse, that is, we can dialogue with that and work with them about that. We do want them to be drug-free for at least 2 weeks. So sometimes we'll have to work with them to help them to, go to a detox place for a week or 2 or whatever. And there is some leniency or flexibility with that, depending on the situation. We just don't have 24/7 medical care on site, so we have to be cautious with that. So, okay? Yes. Anything else? All right. Cool. All right. Sorry, I need to leave. I need to head to a board meeting, so.
We'll catch some rest later.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so moving right along. So the next big thing for the CoC is the CoC Annual Meeting. Last year we didn't have one, but those of you that have been around for longer than last year, I'm not one of them. We typically would have a meeting every single December as a CoC to try to bring in people outside of our normal service providers to talk about how the CoC is doing and where the CoC is going. This year we're going to change it up. We're going to tweak it just a little bit in that we're going to have our CoC meeting on December 15th at the Kansas Leadership Center, and it's really just for the CoC. We're really just trying to reach our general CoC membership, so especially the folks that haven't been to an in-person meeting in a while, especially those programs that pre-pandemic were always part of the CoC conversation. We just need to re-invite them back. As part of this, we're inviting Julia Orlando. Some of you have heard me say that name before, but she is a national speaker, but really where she got her start was in Bergen County, New Jersey, doing the same work that we're doing, where she and her community were able to reach functional zero for veterans, for youth, for chronically homeless folks until they reach the entire population and they reach functional zero. We know in this world that ending homelessness entirely probably isn't going to happen, but she believes, and will speak about to us, how there are ways that we can start reaching different aspects of functional zero. So I'm very excited to have her, and she'll be back again in April when we have a much bigger meeting where we invite the entire community to come. With that being said, there is no December 12th or 13th meeting. We're just going to meet one more time this year. There's no more planning meetings, so if they're still on your calendar, I'm sorry, I can't get them off, just delete them. We're not meeting anymore except for this December 15th meeting. Starting next year, my intent is for us just to have one CoC meeting a month, just because there's a lot of confusion this last year, on my part especially, on what are we doing each CoC meeting. So we're just gonna make it one CoC meeting, and I'll talk more about that as well with some other updates that we have. I'm going to go to committee updates. So I've been asking all of you in our weekly emails to start signing up for committees. So you, your staff, everyone really, to sign up for committees, because this is an opportunity for everyone to be involved in a more deeper way in how the full system works, right? In total, we have 8 committees that cover a bunch of different areas, but I only have 16 responses. So even if I split everyone up so there's 2 person per group, that's not really the level that we're going to need to be successful in all of these. If that means that we can't focus on all of these, that's okay, but our big ones for this year that we really need to focus on are landlord engagement. That was actually the most popular group. We really need to focus on getting HMIS and our data group going and starting again. Coordinated entry, that was the second most popular group. Our diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as our persons with lived experience. Those are 2 separate groups of just keeping our CoC as equitable and as human-centric and transparent as possible. Thanks, Steve. He's feeding me lines. Yeah. It's just carrying forward. Yeah. So So what's going to happen with all of these is kind of a refresher with the way that the NOFO hit us this year. I've been kind of stumbled and dropped a lot of things. I'm trying to catch up on all of them. So in January is when all of these groups, except for Alliance because they've been meeting this whole time, everyone else is really going to meet and go full swing. Each one of these groups has a mission and a task that they need to do. So it's not like you're meeting just to talk. Each one has a very specific purpose. And in the sign-up link, you'll see it again this Thursday, that it kind of lists what needs to be done by each of the groups. Anyone is welcome to join these. Your partners, your children that are over 18, please no 5-year-olds, can all be part of these. Your neighbors, these groups are going to be doing the majority of the system level work for the CoC in 2023. On top of that, we have our ad hoc, our impromptu point in time count group. We met before this meeting, and so here are some updates in case you haven't gotten them yet. So our point in time count this year will take place January 26th. We're counting the night before, the 25th, to be the night of service, so that's the night we're looking at to see if people were homeless or not. On December 1st is when we're going to launch our volunteer registrations. So everyone that wants to help with that, that is the one way you're going to sign up. So you don't have to email me, you don't have to email anyone on that group, just you'll be signing up individually on our website. Our goal is really 100 volunteers. That feels ambitious, but last year we were at 80. It dropped down to 60 when people saw the snow, but really, I think we can do 100 because we're trying to get as much of the count done as possible. For those of you who are new to this, HUD asked that we go out every other year. In this community, we do every year and hand count everyone who's experiencing unsheltered and sheltered homelessness. Everyone in shelter we count through the HMIS or Homeless Management Information System, but everyone that we count on the streets, we use it, I think the VA coined it, but we use battle buddy teams to go out and interview folks who are experiencing literal homelessness. We'll be using an app, and so training for all of that will be happening in January. So if you sign up in December, you're going to hear a lot more come January. Same thing with the CoC updates. Every meeting we're going to be updating you. With the point in time count, there's also another side of it, which is the housing inventory count. And so that's for all of you providers, all of you shelter folks, everyone who has permanent housing, especially if this is a first year for you to have permanent housing. We do what's called a housing inventory count. And that's where we as a community basically tally how many beds do we have for X population, how are they funded, are they time limited, or are they year-round beds, things like that. This data is really crucial for us getting the amount of HUD funding we need. If they recognize we have a really strong shelter system, then they'll put money into housing that we need to keep the system going. There'll be more informational-esque sessions for folks that run programs that put information into this. I have it there. Outreach will probably start December, January. That's really Steve's lane to get all of that because it's all based on how HMIS is set up. So he and I will be working on that December, early January, so that we're ready by January 25th. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jerea with our coordinated entry updates.
Okay. So the updates I have for coordinated entry is the number of households we've housed since the beginning of this year has been 394. So we're really close to 400 at that one. And so in the month of October, we've added 76 new people to the coordinated entry by name list. We only had 38 referrals in the month of October, and that was from Catholic Charities and the VA. We still have HPP vouchers that are available for people to use. ESG is still available. Is Housing First full? Pretty close to full. And then MHA still has openings, but a success story for MHA is we got some chronically homeless people housed through MHA in the last month, this month of October. And then the only other big update I have, Cole, is once a week I'm either at Open Door or I'm at the Lord Steiner, and I'm entering chronically homeless clients into coordinated entry. This need is growing, so I never get through my whole list of people. By the time I leave, I can maybe see 10 to 15. So if anyone wants to help volunteer, do that with me once a week. I can show you how I do it, and then I can serve more people if I can get to more people. But right now, it's just me doing it. And then you guys can choose either Lord Steiner when I go there or Open Door. And Open Door is very welcoming. Josh will let you use anything downstairs. So.
What days and times are you at each one of those locations?
Yeah, so Open Door, I'm here Thursdays from 8:30 to 12. And then the Lord Steiner, it's every other Tuesday through 10 to 12 during their pantry hour. So those are when I'm doing those. But if those days don't work, I mean, everyone is very nice. Like, you can schedule when you can go and do it. It doesn't have to be the days I go out there. But those are the Tuesdays and times I do it.
Jerea stepped up and kind of piloted this thing, with meeting after going to the Open Door, and I think that she is more than shown the success of that. The number of people that she's connected with in the last 2 months, the number of people she was able to fill up MHA's chronic homeless program through that, and just that more people would volunteer, just like she said, just a few hours a week. She's only committed 3 hours of her work, her 40-hour work week to go do that. That we could really make a difference in a lot of people's homelessness in our community.
Yes, it's very needed, and people really want to talk, and I wish I can spend as much time with everyone as they want, but now that the need is growing, I kind of have to move them along. But it would be nice to have just more help. So if you guys are interested in that, you can email me and I can let you know who to contact, or you can come out with me and see how I do it one day. It doesn't matter, whichever works.
Just a reminder, as from an executive perspective, that if you have HUD housing and that is needing to be filled, your case management, you can do this, pay for your case manager to come over as part of the outreach to fill those. So if you're trying to figure out how to get that done, then put that out there. If you've got openings and wherever your population would be, you could do outreach like that. Doesn't have to be Open Door, because we're more chronic homeless kind of folks, but it may be another place that you could go for outreach. So just a reminder that it's not, you're not necessarily, as you can sell that to your executive, the director, as part of the outreach portion of it.
Yes. And it is needed. It's very needed. And I like coming here every Thursday. Thank you.
Glad to have you.
That's all I have.
Hey, I am the HMIS committee. I'd prefer not to be the whole committee, so please come join me. We've got exciting things we're doing. All by myself. So the update for November, we've added a couple of agencies to HMIS, the HOT team and KDOC. So we're working through the MOU process for that. We're looking for a database manager. So we have an open position on the HMIS team to be posted any day now, right, Matt? I'm also working on a program called Advanced Analytics. Advanced Analytics through Client Track and Ecovia is actually a static database so that our active database doesn't get altered when we start building dashboards. So we're going to start building dashboards. This is going to take a few months, but these dashboards are going to reflect agency project and system level data error rates, as well as agency project and system level performance data. We're going to pilot project, sort of what the internal dashboards are going to look like, and by internal I mean internal to the CoC. And then we're going to start talking as a CoC and as an HMIS data committee, what dashboards are we willing to put out there for the whole community to see. The CoC, by HUD regulation, owes our community some level of transparency, and just giving them that once a year point in time count data isn't enough, because we keep getting asked, how many people do we have homeless in our community at this moment? And that number fluctuates month to month. We should be presenting real-time transparent data. We have that. I'm in the background, and some of you have been reached out to by me because I've been running agency and project level system performance reports for your individual agencies and projects. And I've been reaching out to you to work on some errors. There's some really simple things like some confusing double enrollments and some missing birth dates, and it's right there in some other section, but it's showing up as an error. We can fix those things. I'm also, I have to submit the longitudinal services report, the LSA, by the 18th to fix errors. I've got about 2 months to fix those errors before we upload, and that becomes real data that becomes part of what HUD presents to Congress. So we want to report good, clean data, which will bring additional resources into our community. I'm looking for a way to sort of do a trial run on the housing inventory count, the HIC. I'll be reaching out to the EU agencies to confirm that the number of beds that you have reported in HMIS is in fact reality, so that I'm not waiting until January 25th to run the HIC count. That's just not necessary. I do need an HMIS subcommittee. That HMIS subcommittee will be reviewing HMIS policies, establishing an annual data quality plan, sort of like a strategic plan for where our data quality should be, and set some data monitoring standards. So part of what we need to do as a CoC is monitor the agencies and the projects. But to be fully transparent, the agencies and the projects need to be participating in what is the data that we're going to be monitoring for you. We want you to participate in what we're monitoring on you, because we don't want you to feel like we're coming in and we're this funder or we're the United Way, which we're really not, but that we are working to improve our data across the community, and that these visits, whether virtual or in person, are intended to coach, are intended to improve all of our data system-wide, because our funding will increase with the cleaner data that we have and the better performance that we can present. So that's sort of all the things that we're working on, but first and foremost for me is getting that HMIS data committee up and running, data analytics for dashboards, and filling that open position on the HMIS team. So because it's not posted now, I can't give you a link to forward to your contacts. So at this point, if you all know somebody who's interested, forward them to my email address at unitedwayplains.org, and I will consider that. Any questions?
I would say something about the housing inventory count, specifically for, these are for permanent housing, people that, have permanent housing solutions like an HMIS. When you're exiting a client, if you could wait till the end of the month to do so, then it would help with that housing inventory count. Sometimes we get hung up you know, 'cause you've done the rental assistance for the entire month, but then you're like, okay, I'm exiting on the 10th of the month, and then now it shows up as an empty bed and it hurts us on the count. So if you wait to the end of the month, you provided the services for the whole month, then it'll show that unit is full. And it will tell you.
I will.
We've gotten dinged 2 years in a row, lost 10 points on our application. Specifically, it's not anybody's fault. We're just people are exiting people, and it's showing like we have all these
Empty beds.
rapid rehousing beds. We don't necessarily have.
The other thing I'm going to be working on the housing inventory count is I want to get a sense of the number of detox beds, long-term substance abuse treatment, and mental health beds. I will extract those for the purposes of HUD reporting. But because we keep getting asked these questions of the availability of all these resources in our community, I feel like I need a little bit of a data bank of available resources in our community, even if they're not HUD beds. So that being said, there will probably be agencies being reached out to by me that aren't used to answering the HIC questions. And there'll be parts of your projects at your facilities that I'm going to be asking you to include, with this acknowledgement that I will be extracting the data that's not relevant for the actual HUD HIC count, if that makes sense. Anything? Thanks, guys.
Okay. So definitely, like Steve said, there's a real need for people to be in those committees. Like I said, I'll talk at the very end about how our governance charter could potentially change to make those committees much more a part of the system. I think historically, a lot of the time, a lot of the work has been done by the team at United Way. And we just want everyone to be involved because we recognize that we need everyone to make the system work for everyone. Otherwise, yeah, it's totally reasonable to have a VI SPDAT done in an hour of meeting someone. Totally reasonable. Not really. So those are the sort of things that we need help with on those committees. And so now we're going to switch over to Tamara to talk us through SOAR. It's been a while since we've gotten to hear from her, so thank you, Tamara.
Hi, I'm Tamara Hurley. I am the local lead and SOAR case manager for ComCare of Sedgwick County. I've been doing this for 12 years, so total I've been working for the county 18 years. So let's see. So on any presentation that we do for SOAR, we have to put these disclaimers on here. So that's the only reason this is on here. All right, so what is SOAR? So SOAR is a model for assisting eligible individuals to apply for SSI or SSDI, so supplemental security income and the disability insurance. We primarily focus on persons who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. They can have a serious mental health issue or co-occurring or physical health or all of the above. The program was originally sponsored by SAMHSA and Social Security in 2005. We actually got trained here in Wichita in 2008. That was the first time it came across. And they trained all of the staff at Center City, so actually Tracy got trained as well. So, and then we actually have this program in all 50 states plus Washington, D.C. So it has progressively moved across the nation. Okay, there's a lot on here. So there are definitely two different definitions out there of homelessness. So you guys have the HUD definition usually, and then you have Social Security's definition. It does tend to get very confusing. And when I call in even now, I'll be working with a client and they're like, well, they have an address. And I'm like, yes, but they're still homeless. So that we don't know if that address is a mailing address or or, you know, where they're just kind of hanging out. So we kind of go, I kind of go butt heads with the Social Security a lot over their definition of homelessness. But we do have a flag at Social Security that can go on the homeless client's chart when it goes through Social Security, so it flags that they are homeless. There are a few other flags. There's a veteran flag, wounded warrior flag. There's a lot, but we tend to focus just on that chronic homeless or the homeless one. So this kind of gives you an overview of what the two programs are, so you can see the difference. So SSI is based on need. So when you have someone that's applying for Social Security, on that end, they're going to be collecting medical records and all of that information. The maximum amount they can make on that is $841. They are getting a substantial gain next year. And then once a person is approved for SSI, in the state of Kansas, we are a Medicaid state, so they automatically would get Medicaid as long as they put the application in. So it's not something that just happens, which sometimes kind of trips clients up. So for the SSDI part, that is all based on your work history. It's what we pay in, that FICA that we pay in. And they have to have 40 work credits. So sometimes, most of the time our clients, it's challenging to find those 40 work credits. So we're really working off of a SSI application. We do run into some clients that have like adult disabled child case. So we have some of those, and then we have the transition age youth. There's a few, other kind of cases, but these are the two main programs. And then we do also file for retirement, for early retirement at 62, and then we can do the regular retirements through the SOAR program as well. So, and then obviously with the SSDI, that's where you get into your Medicare and the difference. So what SSI and SSDI does for the individual is it brings income into their pocket, which in turn can help with housing, health insurance, treatment, any type of supported services. And this is like a critical step of this program in order to help with ending homeless and promoting that recovery. All right, so how do we benefit from it? We benefit through Medicaid, Medicare dollars. That money that they're getting then gets spent in the community, and so the client actually starts to become part of the community and spending their money and everything. Now, at the bottom, I did actually just get updates on these, so I was able to put in the new numbers. So at the bottom, you can see that so far as a program, we've been able to bring $630 million into local communities just with the SOAR program. So eligibility, the person to be eligible for these programs does not meet SGA, which is the substantial gainful activity, which for this year is $13.40 per month. They have to have some sort of medical diagnosis, which includes both physical or mental. And the impairment has to last at least 12 months or result in death. So we have to be, basically all this is saying is we have to be able to prove that you are disabled. So we can't just pick somebody and not have medical records and try to file, because we will get denied. So everything is based basically off medical records. So this is kind of just the brief application process. This is kind of what SOAR puts out there, and how the filing goes. And I took it, and this is how I broke it down, so you can kind of see a broke down version of how it goes. I will say, when we originally first started this, it was an average of like 3 to 4 months that we were getting turnaround, but now it's kind of started to average out to 6 to 9 months. It really just depends. COVID kind of put a damper on them a lot because they stopped doing a lot of awards. So they're actually playing catch up at this point from being closed for COVID. So once you apply, you start at the initial stage. If the person is denied, then they go into the reconsideration stage. And then this just kind of shows you the progression of how the applications can go. So if they get denied at a reconsideration, then they would apply to go to a hearing and the hearing office here. And then if they get denied at that point, then they can choose to either refile or do an appeals council. And then if they get denied there, then it goes to the federal level, and it goes all the way, it goes out, actually back to Virginia to get processed back there. So it can be a very long process if you have somebody that wants to, take it all the way through. This is one of the newer slides I put in just to show kind of the structure of how SOAR is. So there's actually 4 different levels. So we have the SOAR TA Center, which is our technical support center, and that is actually out of Del Mar, New York. So everything goes through there. They provide all of our technical assistance. They do webinars, they anything like that. If you're interested in any type of webinars for SOAR, let me know, and I can definitely get you connected or to the website. Then we have a state team lead that actually they work in Topeka through KDADS, and everything gets kind of funneled through there. And then we have our local leads, which there are several across the state of Kansas. And we meet actually via Basecamp. So we stay connected on that platform. We can shoot stuff back and forth to each other and answer questions as needed. And then we have our multiple case managers across the state. So there's actually 5 steps, only 5 steps that makes SOAR unique from any other process. There's an alert on here, sorry. Yeah, do I just hit no?
Yeah, just no.
Okay, sorry. So the 5 steps are, one of the critical components that we have is an SSA 1696. What this does is it makes the SOAR representative kind of the person in charge, the middleman between Social Security and the client. Filling out that does not mean that we get paid. We waive our fees for this, so it's different than going with an attorney. So we choose not to get paid, and so all that back pay, if the client was approved, would go directly to the client. But the 1696 is great for our homeless clients because they're so transitional that it's hard to keep track sometimes of where they're at, and so if you have that one point person, then everything can hopefully go a lot smoother. We collect and submit medical records, so reaching out and really making connections with hospitals and doctor's offices is very helpful, so we can get medical records and get it submitted before. That way they can have everything that they need in order to make the decision a lot quicker. Writing a medical summary report. So basically this is like a story of the client's life. There are many different ways to write it. You can write it in paragraph form. I've done it in bullet form to where I've just kind of broke out the client's life, just kind of in bullet points. It's basically whatever preference the case manager wants at that point. We always get our medical summary reports co-signed by a doctor. That way it becomes actual legal evidence in the file. And then we do quality reviews, and then the application gets submitted. So here's some of the numbers. This kind of will start breaking down a little bit. So how SOAR works. This is the national outcomes, and this actually just came out. So the approvals for 2022 were 2920, and it's an approval rate of 68%. It doesn't seem very high, but it really is if you kind of think about the whole length of process for this program. And then you can see the average days has gone up to 153 days. We liked at the beginning to be 90 days. That's where it originally started. So on our appeals, we had 371 approvals with an approval rate of 41% in 177 days. So that would be, the appeals would be like that reconsideration stage. So sending it back to the state and having them relook at your case. So this is actually the cumulative data. So this is actually from the very, very beginning, national data. So this kind of shows you the initial outcomes for the applications. We've actually had 53,000 people helped in this program, and the appeals they've had 8567, and we've actually been able to serve. I mean, they have a total of 62,444, but total served people was 100,000 people, so it's a pretty big number. This is actually our data within ComCare. I have not updated this as of yet because I'm still working on it. But we've been able to have 268 approvals as of 2018, and we were able to bring in $1.2 million just to our agency. I can say that recently I just had 2 cases go through that I retroed $60,000 between the 2 of them. So it can be done. It's enlightening. So Medicaid, I don't know if any of you know a whole lot about the Medicaid structure, but so there's actually 2 tiers of Medicaid. You have the Medican and the Tier 1, which is Medicaid, the full Medicaid with the MCOs. As part of our SOAR program for the state of Kansas, I was on an oversight kind of project, I guess, with the state, and we worked out a template of how to process Medicaid applications with the SOAR application. And through that, we were able to get a designated person at the state level that processes all of our Medicaid applications for us. So we have a direct email link that we just send stuff through. And so they don't get caught kind of in that general population just spinning and waiting. So we're actually able to get a Medicaid decision within usually 2 weeks of filing a Medicaid application, which is great for our agency because then we can start truly billing, and we get to actually it actually helps our clients because we can send them to doctors that they haven't been able to go to get those medical records that we're actually needing on some of the diagnoses that they have. So it's very beneficial in that aspect. Medicare, I do not have a lot to say about Medicare because I don't know a lot about Medicare other than you get it. We're in the middle of open enrollment right now. So one thing that we do find in our own agency in ComCare is our clients don't pick Part D plans. And so we get stuck a lot not being able to get prescriptions filled because they haven't picked a Part D plan. And so that's one thing that I've been actually approached about recently, because since it is sign up time and people are sending me emails right now all the time, can you help this person do a Part D? So I don't know a lot about it, but if we ever do need it, we send them to HIC over at the Kansas Extension office. They have a HIC program and they're amazing with going through and taking the list of medications that the client has and trying to pick out which would be the best pharmacy plan for them. This is kind of just a throw-in. I had done speaking for the Department of Aging, so I kind of threw this in and I've just kind of left it. Just kind of shows you that the difference in the homeless age gap right now. Homeless adults 50 and older is growing. So it's one of the most popular growth right now for homelessness. And they say that by 2050, there's expected to be 95,000 elderly people on the streets as homeless. So how can you help? So here's my information at the bottom. If you need anything, Cole has my contact information as well. So if you can't get it, you can always send him a message and he'll send it off to you. Does anybody have any questions, like specific questions?
Is the people that need this program, is that just strictly if they go to ComCare, or how do they access that assistance?
So for ours, yes, it would be strictly if they have one service open within ComCare. MHA does have a SOAR case manager. I know Cole and I have talked about this a lot. At one point, the CoC was working on trying to get a SOAR case manager that would kind of branch out and do more of the community-based kind of cases. So that's kind of where we struggle at this point. So if that's...
Those are just the two agencies that you know in town that...
For the most part, yeah. I mean, Catholic Charities did have someone. I'm not sure if they still do. Salvation Army had... Do you still have some, Jen? Okay. And then I know Salvation Army had someone at one point too, and I'm not sure if they still have that person either. So ComCare, actually, we have 3 specific SOAR, and then we have several that are in the process of getting trained. So Breakthrough Club. A lot of it is going to be funding. That's going to be the big thing. But yeah, and that's the thing that people find. That's what we found actually in the very beginning. Is we trained our whole agency in 2008, and then when it got down to it, we were like, we can't do this and hold a caseload and do this. So in 2009 is when they flipped it and made it just a dedicated position. So, and since then, that's kind of when I've been in this position since then. So, yeah, it's fun. I like my VA clients. They're easy. They have the most medical records though, but they're the most easy to get approved usually. Any other questions? If you have questions, feel free to just call me, send me an email, whatever. Bug Jamie. All right.
Now, George will be talking about DCF and what they do. I asked him to speak. The CoC is supposed to refresh ourselves every year about SNAP and TANF. So partially was because we needed to do it, but also because it'll be good for our clients too. So thank you, George. Yep. And then you'll just use the arrows to go through it.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. My name is George Glover. I'm a program consultant with the state of Kansas. Been doing this for a long time, 26 years. It kind of gives away my age. Don't look at the gray hair. But anyway, I've enjoyed my time at DCF. I've been able to do basically all the programs. We used to do Medicaid at DCF. Now we contracted out to the state in Topeka. So they do our Medicaid apps now. But I fully enjoyed my time. One of my passions is working with the homeless. In prior lives, I've worked with the homeless. I started my illustrious career from WSU. I got my bachelor's degree. I started at Evaluation and Treatment Center. How many know what the Evaluation and Treatment Center? You guys probably weren't even alive. You weren't even born. That was in the early 80s where we would get people right off the street, and they would come and we would treat them there. From there, I moved on to North Mental Health. How many remember North Mental Health, 1801 East 10th? That was before ComCare. See, that's giving away my age. I did that, and then from there, I moved on to DCF. And like I said, we do a number of programs. I want to thank Deanne and also Cole for inviting me here today to basically just to show you the kind of services that we have at DCF and to answer any questions you may have. Whoops. Our agency overview. Our agency mission is to protect children, promote healthy families, and encourage personal responsibility. Economic and employment services, we have child support services, we have prevention and protection services, and also vacation rehabilitation services. Economic and employment services, some of you may have worked with EES and some of the things that you've done. We provide a variety of services, including cash, food, energy, and child care assistance. You may have somebody help somebody fill out an application. We go ahead and do those as well. ES helps people find and keep jobs and also provides other employment support. So if you have somebody on cash assistance, we may put those into one of our work programs to help them find work. That's an important program as well. Our programs that are available to families, we have food assistance. How many know what SNAP means? Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. We also provide temporary aid to needy families, TANF. They used to be called TAF, temporary aid to families. We also provide child care subsidies for people that work. We also do low-income energy assistance program called LEAP. How many have been involved with LEAP? Help somebody fill out an application. It's an immensely popular program that helps a lot of people in the spring to get help with their gas and/or electric bill. Food assistance program, SNAP. Assistance is available to families and individuals. A net income determination is made, and amount benefit is based on that income amount. Net meaning you have folks that are on SSI, folks that are on Social Security disability. We count the net income, so it's dollar for dollar. Deductions are allowed for shelter, child care, child support, and medical expenses. Must cooperate with child support services in pursuing absent parent for support. Participants reapply annually with an interim report due every 6 months. How many have helped folks fill those out? You either have a review or you'll have an interim report every 6 months, and those are a requirement for services at DCF for food stamps and cash and child care. Benefits are placed on an EBT card. You guys are familiar with EBT cards? Those benefits are placed on there monthly, depending on your last name. It goes alphabetical, and when those benefits will be put on that card. There's also a goals program. Again, these are for folks that are involved in some of our programs that help folks. We also have work registration requirements. One of the things that we have that you guys may be working with is called ABODs, Able Body Without Dependents. 18 to 49, they have to be, as effective as of July, they have to be working or looking for work at least 30 hours a week. And I don't know if you guys work with those folks. We have a lot of them here, 18 to 49. Now, unless they have an exemption, if they have a disability, a documented disability, drawn unemployment, or pregnant, they have to be involved with. That's a federal guideline. There's also a state guideline as well.
Can you answer a question about that? So I'm hearing clients say that they get supplemental because of COVID, like they're being too community.
Yeah. They get an extra $30, $35 a month because of COVID. Let's say they would get normally $250. Because of COVID, they get a supplement of $30 a month.
When does that go away?
That's going to be going away, I think, in December.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of COVID, they're kind of laxing the guidelines as far as what they provide as far as services, extra benefits. That may be going away. Don't hold me to it, but I believe it's December. Now, they're a month behind on their benefits. So if you have somebody in September that may get the $250, they won't get the supplement till the next month at the end of the month. So it'd be $281.
You were talking about an exemption from the work. Thing. How does one go about getting something?
When you have, with our programs now, that person will get a notice in the mail if they're 18 and 49 and they're able to work, or even if they're not able to work, saying you need to come see us. We have work program people that you need to come see, and they will address it at that time. What they'll do is give them a medical statement, or depending on their situation, and they will address it with them.
Could they show proof with their SSI or SSDI?
They could, because that's a disability, and that's an exemption. Temporary assistance to needy families, TANF. Only available to families with at least one child under the age of 18, including an unborn child. Must meet income requirements, must meet resource limits, must cooperate with child support in pursuing absent parent for support, must cooperate with work programs, drug testing where applicable, and the lifetime limit of 24 months. How many of you guys work with TANF folks? So you know all about the requirements now. Now that 24 months can go farther than that if they have a hardship for some reason. They can extend that past the 24 months. But this is a great program. It's been around for a long time. And I don't know the numbers as far as how many people are on TANF now, but I know it's there.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If you reach the 24 limit in one state, can you start over in another state, or does it?
That I don't know, because it changes state to state. Yeah, that would be something that you'd work with that state. If you reach the 24-month limit, when you go and apply, they'll talk to you about what their state requirements are. Child care subsidy available to families receiving TANF. Low-income working families must be working at least 20 hours a week at minimum wage. Teen parents completing high school or GED. To some families pursuing post-secondary education must be working at least 15 hours a week in addition to going to school, and applies to the last 24 months of a degree. Now that's a new concept. We're actually trying to help folks get their degree as well. If they're in the last 24 months of a degree, we will help with child care, which is, as you guys know, child care is very important. The need for child care is very important. We have a lot of working moms. And now we have a lot of working dads with kids. It's kind of flip-flop. It's gone both ways now. So we're seeing both avenues of that. The basics. Applications can be submitted online, in person, or through the mail. ID is required for the applicant and all adult household members. All programs require income verification. Citizenship must be verified if questionable. food and cash assistance applications required an interview. Now, because of COVID, if you have somebody that's turned in, if you have a legit phone number, we can actually call them and do a phone interview. Because, you know, with COVID, a lot of that was by the wayside. So we had clients that said, well, if you don't have a phone, give us somewhere where we can contact you, an alternate phone number. I work with a lot of homeless people. So there is always somebody that I can talk to if you have a phone number that I can contact. That's very important. DCF Rehabilitation Services. Rehabilitation services provide services to individuals with disabilities with the goal of assisting them in finding integrated competitive employment. Clients are referred, including self-referral, to rehabilitation services. An intake is scheduled to gather information used in eligibility determinations. Client fills out an application. This can be done before or after the intake. With information from the client and third parties, an eligibility determination is made. Must have a documented disability, physical or mental. The disability must be an impediment to employment. Requires RS services to obtain employment. Now that's the thing about rehabilitation service. You have to have a documented verification by a doctor that you have something going on with you, either physical or mental. When you call rehabilitation services, they will assign you an actual caseworker, and they'll have you come in and then you'll provide them whatever information that they need. This is another important program with DCF. It has helped a lot of people that have disabilities. So if you guys have someone that may be eligible for these services, I would definitely call them. After eligibility is determined, an individual plan for employment, an IPE is developed. Work the plan with a goal of employment. Closed case, successful employment, or no employment for various reasons, client request, unable to locate, move, etc. We also work with transition students beginning the first semester of their junior year. We can determine eligibility and provide some base services until they graduate. Again, that's another good thing. If you know somebody that's in voc rehab, maybe their junior year, maybe they want to go into that. It's another thing as well that they can pursue, transition. Service provided to job seekers. They provide education, technical training, job prep, job coaching, community-based work assessment, community-based job tryout, medical, dental, or mental health, assisted technology, placement, and other. So you look at, see all the many placement possibilities there are with working somebody in voc rehab, a case manager. So if you have somebody that say, hey, this might be a possibility for me with this particular client that you're working with, I would definitely check into that. Where do we receive referrals? We get them from schools, corrections, advocate organizations for individuals with disabilities, medical, mental health, other divisions of DCF, workforce center, family, self-referral, and community organizations. So you can see the abundance of referrals and where they come from. They come from everywhere. So that's key for you. Pre-employment transition services. This empowers youth with disabilities to achieve their highest employment potential is one of the major goals of rehabilitation services. Pre-ETS are designed to provide job exploration counseling, self-advocacy, workplace readiness training, counseling on competitive transition or post-secondary education, work-based learning experience. So again, this is for pre-employment. So you may work with kids that have disabilities, and you say, what do I do with them? This is another opportunity to get services for that particular person. Pre-employment transition. The student is 16 to 21. So if you're working with somebody at that age, the student is in secondary, post-secondary, or other recognized education programs. The student is eligible for receiving services under an education plan or 504 plan, or the student is an individual with a disability under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. The student is also must be a resident of the state of Kansas. Any student with a disability and not a U.S. citizen must have employment authorization document. So that's the green card. This is our DCF regions. As you can see, there are 4 regions. Wichita is South Central, and there's 10 counties engulfed in that area, Wichita. Community Campus Action Statement. One of the things that we have is we have caseworkers, we have program consultants in the community. As opposed to going down to our main office on South Oliver, we have people in resource centers, which we like to call in vivo, where people live. That helps the people that do not have transportation access services. As members of the Department for Children and Families stationed within the community, we collaborate with the community to build trust and relationships between the Department for Children and Families, our clients, and our community partners. And within the facilities in which we are located, encouraging clients to attain personal responsibility while maintaining their dignity. So we have people, and you think it's just at the main office on South, we have them all over, and that's what I'm going to be talking about too. Why do we have community campuses? Community collaboration. We're working with you folks. We collaborate with you folks. It's a one-stop customer service. Someone has a food stamp application, they don't have the transportation to go way down to South Oliver. We have folks in the community that will help them. Also, accessibility. I'm an outstation worker at Grace Med. I have a lot of people who live on Broadway in motels. So guess who they're coming to see? So they may even call you and leave somebody there at the resource center will tell you, well, the person here from DCF is George Glover, and they'll give them my phone number. And the accessibility part is we have applications at these resource center, paper applications. So let's say you don't have somebody that, man, I'm not real IT tech. I don't know how to apply online. Well, you can actually see a person. You know, with COVID, it was kind of, you didn't do that. But now with some of the legencies that are going on, you can actually come into the office or somebody will call you and do an interview over the phone. That's accessibility, guys. Outstation stations, Grace Med, Hunter, DECA, City of Wichita, Health Corps Clinic. Where we're located, some of you may have already worked with some of my coworkers. Hunter Health Clinic, Oaklawn Senior Community Center, Evergreen Center, Grace Med Good Samaritan Clinic, Grace Med Helen Galloway Clinic, which is where I'm located, DECA. You may have worked with DECA. Atwater Neighborhood Resource Center, Colvin Resource Center, Health Corps Clinic. How many knew that you could access those services there?
So how would we connect a client who struggles with using online and just struggles communicating on the phone and just really needs to sit down with somebody?
You would call the actual worker direct. Like if you were to go to that facility and say, well, who's the worker here? They would give you that phone number. Or you could call DCF and they would give you that phone number as well. You can leave a message with that worker. They can call you back and they can tell you how to set up an appointment, what we need to do to gain accessibility. Secondary locations. Interfaith Ministries, United Methodist Open Door Food Pantry, Grace Med ComCare, Miracles House, United Methodist Homeless Resource Center, Guadalupe Clinic, Our Daily Bread Food Pantry, Dear Neighbor Ministries. So in essence, we have our main sites, but we also have secondary sites as an outstation worker. Mine is right here. Well, we'll be talking.
Okay, he knows I've been advocating.
Yes, Deanne has been advocating. You know, one of the things is that secondary site is people feeling good about getting back out, and that's the thing with COVID is, you know, I was gone 2 years, Deanne, and it's just with the COVID, you saw what it did to the community. Everybody kind of sheltered in, and but I can tell you that we will be coming back. I can't tell you when. That's beyond my pay grade.
I keep pushing you, Trotty.
I know you do. I know you do. And I appreciate that.
Not above you. No.
I appreciate that too. But you can see some of the secondary locations that you can gain access to benefits as well.
How would I request to be secondary location?
That would be the powers that be at DCF. Dee Niswonger. Janet Barnes, Dee Niswonger, she's our new director. Do you know them? Yes. So you can ask for that and request that. That's a lot of times how we've gained those secondary sites is somebody like you guys will say, I want a secondary site in my facility. You can look on here all the places that DCF outstation workers are located, as well as the secondary sites, and they're all over the community. So when you say, well, I can't get somewhere, you can see the accessibility as opposed to where you guys are located. You can look on here and see where there's an actual Grace Med site or actual site for DCF. What do? We carry out the mission and vision of the agency at a local level. When I say local, we're in vivo. We're right where you live. So we do it right where you're at. Through the resource centers, through Health Corps, through Hunter. And again, for me, it's about accessibility. And that's what we provide the clients that we work for. Provide DCF services to customers in their neighborhood. For our Spanish-speaking friends, in vivo, where they live. Determined eligibility on different programs. TANF, food stamps, child care, and LEAP. Collaborate with community partners and provide community services. Responds to meet accessibility through outreach events. One of the other things that we do as an outreach worker is we go to different events in the community and we do outreach. One of the ones that I did recently was the Asian Festival. I don't know how many of you guys got to see that at the Extension office. That's another way that we do outreach. Set up a table, have food stamp applications, information about DCF available to those folks. Project Access referrals in the community health clinics. How many know about Project Access? The United Way. One of the things that I do as well is Project Access. We work with United Way, we work with Project Access on Hillside. There's a lot of folks that do not have insurance. Project Access is available to those folks who do not have insurance, meaning SSI, Medicaid, other insurance that need treatment. I've been doing this 16 years for Project Access. We do it in the clinics. Now, we don't do it in all the clinics, but it's accessibility. It's a community collaboration with that clinic that says, hey, we're going to provide services for you through Project Access. And I've seen a lot of people get help. If you have somebody that doesn't have insurance, they have to get the referral from that doctor at that resource clinic. So at Grace Med, they have to be getting treatment there. But there are a number of places that do Project Access as well. Liaisons for special services, foster care, support other DCF divisions, CS, PPS, rehabilitation service, drop-off points for requested information, and answering questions. One of the things that we also do, if a client cannot get down to the main office on South Oliver and that somebody has requested information, we are a drop-off point for that client. We provide accessibility to them for whatever reason they have. I don't have a car, I can't get this information to you. Is there somebody local? And again, that's accessibility. That's convenience that we provide the clients. Questions? What did we miss that really somebody wanted to know about? Yeah. Who is it? Right now, we just have our main sites. We're looking into it. As far as the secondary, that we're talking about it now. We'll let you know when those secondary sites become available.
So you're at the Health Corps?
Yeah, Hunter Health Clinic, Health Corps, Grace Med, Good Samaritan Clinic. So we are available in the community. Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
All right, and so with that, we have one last thing on our agenda, and it's talking about the governance charter. It's something that I think you've heard me talk about a little bit off and on for the last year or so, because at its core, a CoC acts a lot like a nonprofit. So one of the things that's really important for a nonprofit is how you do business, how you do the ins and outs of making your CoC function. And so with that in mind, we've reviewed, and our TA has given me a lot of helpful pointers about ways that we can alter our governance charter to be a different style of doing things, just a way to make us look more like a nonprofit, to focus our efforts on ending homelessness. And so the way that I'm really trying to go about this is this Thursday, I'll be sending out my proposed changes to the governance charter. I don't even know how many of you have read it, but it is a really important document, as boring as it sounds, that guides the work that we do. I'm looking, in a sort of a public feedback way, I'm asking for y'all to read through the changes that I've made that you'll get on Thursday, and let me know what you do or don't like. That way I can reincorporate it into the final evolution of it. I'm planning on that December 15th meeting. We'll be dedicating a portion of time to talk through the changes that we made based on your comments, and then ultimately vote on if we want to approve this governance charter or not. This isn't something that I can just make happen. It's something that the community has to choose to accept. Every comment that I get, if there's something that's very clear, like a very clear comment is made, like this is something we don't as a community want to see happen, then that's something that we just can't put in the governance charter, and it's something that will change. So I'm going to go over some of the significant changes because I know not everyone has seen the old one. I'll make it really, I'll give you both the old one and the most recent one, that way you can see it. So in general, I'm really trying to get the CoC to operate more like a nonprofit. That is really the goal and the core of why we're doing this update. So some of the key changes are really in who's responsible for governing the CoC. So the first and the most biggest change is that the general membership, y'all or the agencies, would only be voting on two things. One, to update the governance charter and approving updates to the governance charter, and two, on new board members. Currently, the general membership has the ability to vote on everything. That's why we used to have 2 meetings and used to meet quite a lot, was so that that second group could vote on things. The next big change would be that committees would be doing a lot of the work for the CoC. So if there's something that's occurring in the CoC, HMIS, coordinated entry, our diversity, inclusiveness, and equity statement, if any of those things really appeal to you as things that, there's changes that need to be made or things that we can do better as a community, that's where the work is going to be done. So rather than a lot of the work kind of living on the shoulders of the board and living on just the funded partners, it could be pushed back out to the full community to work on. And then the last thing is that, who's going to vote and approve things? Is it going to be Cole? Is he trying to become a dictator? No, not really. Not at all. Instead, it would be going over to the board to be voting on everything. So things like, and we've been trying it, so things like if we have a new agency come to town, so Johnny's Emergency Shelter on Wheels comes to town and they want to have access to HMIS, that's something that the HMIS team would work with on the coordinated entry team to kind of decide, is this a good use? If so, we'll turn it over to the board and they'll approve it. Or not approve it if the board decides not to approve it. Rather than having a whole separate meeting where I might not have anything for that meeting and there's really no reason for it to exist. And also that's really the reason for a board. Other big changes is that I want to expand our board. If anyone's visited the United Way website where the CoC information is hosted, you can see that we have 10 board members. The hope is to change it so that we have more members on our board. Reason being is that we need more diverse input. This is a community lift to end homelessness. It's not just on service providers, and that's the dominant people in the room. And also so that people that have different insights, if it's a landlord, they have different insights on how they can use their units versus us who aren't landlords in the same way can use that property. In addition to that, the CoC board would vote internally on having its own steering committee. So a chairperson, a vice chair, a secretary, and then 2 at-large officers. Again, I'm boring myself talking about it, but that way we have a core group of people who are responsible for steering the CoC towards one direction that the board is directing us to. So if the board says we want to have X done by 2023, that's what that steering committee makes sure that we're getting done. So whether that's through committee work or that's through my work of being a community collaborator or through Jurea and making sure that we're using coordinated entry efficiently, that steering committee is going to in some way become my boss, because right now we have kind of the uncomfortable situation of my team at United Way kind of makes a lot of decisions, which isn't a bad thing, but it feels like we're making decisions at you, and we don't want that to be the case. And so look for that in your email. On top of that, other last minute things I forgot to put in here, the city's home ARP plan is available for public comment. Please read through that and make comments on it. It's for the general public, but we are the general public. Please read through that. Same thing with the Kansas home ARP plan. There's a much shorter turnaround time on that. Please read through those. That is a lot of federal money just for homeless services in Kansas and Wichita.